Hello, everyone. I'm Gus Kattengell, and this is the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, along with Mr. Jim Eichenhofer and television analyst extraordinaire, Mr. Antonio Daniels. Happy holidays to you, man. How are you?
I am truly blessed, fellas. How are you guys?
Doing well. Had a good Christmas. Had family in town. They love the 75-degree weather because they're coming from New York State. So, man, talk about blessed.
It really doesn't feel like Christmas when it's 75 degrees outside.
And then all of a sudden, to start the work week, it gets into the 30s. It won't be like that forever, but we did get a nice taste. Hopefully, everyone did enjoy their holidays, and we get ready to ring in a new year, which is crazy. Everyone does. What is it called for the new year? Resolutions, yes. I was going to say for Jim and I, maybe hope to be nearly as popular as you and Joel. Y'all had a cartoon, sir.
We have a bunch of them.
It's actually pretty cool.
The next one coming out is really awesome.
It's really nice, man. Being a part of that, hearing you guys voicing and seeing it with the animation has got to be really cool. Look, obviously, this season, when you look at the win-loss record, isn't the way it is. But as we end the calendar year, my wife calls me many different things, but would you call me crazy if I say I think the Pels are playing better basketball, and there's a reason for me to really be excited about what maybe I might see as the season comes to a conclusion in April?
Well, I think the approach and processing of this is important. And what I mean by that is I have felt, I think I can go back to, I believe it was the San Antonio game, that you felt like this team was starting to turn the corner. I'm a firm believer, and I've said this for years, that growth and success aren't linear. What's successful for one organization is not success, doesn't mean successful or success in another organization. You can be successful without winning games. You can grow without winning basketball games. Now, the ultimate goal, obviously, is to win games. So you don't want to lower the overall standard. But when there is a coaching change, there is a new voice, you're starting over. I don't care when it happens. In any organization, anytime there's a coaching change, you're starting over. So when you hire interim head coach James Borrego, he is not Willie Green. So his thoughts, his schemes, his offensive approach, his defensive patterns, everything is completely different. So you have to start over. And the fact that he was hired during Hell Week, when you're playing Nikola Jokic and Luka and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Steph Curry, all within that week with 0 practice days, you have to understand there's going to be some rough patches in there, but the way you see this team playing right now on both sides of the basketball, I think we can all agree that it's a completely different team than what we saw and have seen early in the season.
What do you think are some of the biggest things that when you look at Hell Week, as you describe it, and you look at the way that they played in the first few games compared to the way that they've played in kind of the latter half of December, what are some of the things that you point to and say, okay, now that they got a bunch of practice days, now they got a little bit more time under James Borrego with some of the changes that he made immediately, what are some of the things that you look at and you say, okay, these are the things that are a result of getting more practice time and just having more time and having kind of a training camp type deal as opposed to, what he had to deal with when he first jumped in. Coaching change happens next day. I think they're playing Golden State.
Mm-hmm. I think defensive principles is one. Again, you can talk about defensive principles all we want to, but if I don't get a chance to put my guys on the floor and go through these things, now basically everybody's going by sight and not by doing. Offensive identity. All right? It's a way that you want to play. Right? You have a very, very fast, and I'm not telling you guys something you don't know, a very, very fast and explosive point guard in Jeremiah Fears that can get up and down the floor. But then you also have another rookie that is incredibly skilled. How do you utilize him? How do you utilize Derek Queen? Understand who Derek Queen was in the first 10 to 15 games of the season and who and how Derek Queen is viewed now. You see a drastic difference in the two players. And I think a lot of that has to do with James Borrego getting his team on the floor and having actual practice time. You don't practice a lot in the NBA now, period. You don't practice a lot, period. Because you have a game every other day. You want guys to get rest. You want your body and your mind to reset. So when you actually have the time to get on the floor, you got to make use of it. And I think JB has done a great job of doing that. His attention to detail is something else. If you watch him in shoot around and you watch him in practice, he is pointing out and stopping practice on the smallest of things, because you understand that when you don't have practice time and you don't have a training camp, your room for error is very, very small. And I think we see this on a night-to-night basis in games.
As we're talking about James Borrego, and then we have to kind of start there, right, before we talk specifically about some of the differences some of the players have made. Something else that I want to ask you as a former player, how important is it to legit have a situation where the minutes you play are earned? Because he's made some decisions as to who plays, who doesn't, in-game, before-game, situationally, and he'll tell you, hey, if you earn it, you don't. I mean, as a former player, is that what you want, where
that's what you want, but that's rarely what you get.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. That's what every player wants, but it's rarely what every player gets. Like, you would love a situation where everybody comes in to training camp and we're all starting in the same spot. I mean, come on now, let's be honest. That'll never happen, because every organization has a totem pole. When I was in San Antonio, you got Tim Duncan and David Robinson. They shouldn't start with everybody else started, because they've earned the right to be ahead of everybody else. But what James Borrego has shown is he's about winning basketball games. He's about winning games. And some of the best coaches that I played for were more about winning games as opposed to preserving egos. Because it's very easy I've seen coaches lose games because they're more worried about guys' egos than they are worried about winning basketball games. James Borrego is worried about winning basketball games and whatever that takes. And what I love is the players have been on board with that as well, because you don't see the attitude that would follow. When I can think, what game was it that went in overtime? Houston game. And 99.9% of the time, Zion is accustomed to being on the floor in overtime. Jordan Poole's accustomed to being on the floor in overtime. But James Borrego went with a set group of guys that eventually end up coming back from 25 points down and winning that game. That says nothing about Z and Jordan Poole. What I think it says more about anything is the way that they responded. They weren't on the bench. They weren't pounding. They were professional, up and cheering, just like everybody else in the Smoothie King Center when you come back from 25 points down. So I think when you have a new coach and you're starting over, it comes down to buying in. Buying in takes time, but you buy in during practice.
I mean, you speak about buying in. I mean, obviously we're curious about your thoughts about Zion being sixth man, and it seems like he's really embraced that, and everything that he's said after games he's talked about how, to me, it seems like another strength of James Borrego too, that he was able to communicate, this is what you're doing.
Trust.
I mean, what have you thought of just about the way that he's played in this role? It seems like he's had a really good stretch since he came back from his injury.
And I think every player is different. You have to find out what works for each guy individually. There are some guys that you can put out there and play them 38 minutes a night and they'll play 75 minutes. You have to find out, okay, how can I put you in a position as a player to be the best version of yourself, to get the best out of you? And if that means for Z to come off the bench for the, 10, 15, 20 games, and you're playing him in between 25 and 27 minutes, and he's efficient and impactful, and it still puts you in a position to stagger his minutes in a way that you can close with him, so be it. And I know everybody's different. My mom used to tell me all the time, you should be more worried about finishing than you are about starting.
Yeah.
Because you can start anybody, but it takes a lot of trust from the coach to actually put five out to finish the game.
Yeah. You talked about the rookies too. I'm curious about Derek Queen. I mean, it seems like from my perspective, he's just been so fun to watch. And as a guy who obviously follows the league at a high level like you do, how fun has it been to just watch his development, and how unique is the way he plays from your perspective? I mean, you played with one of the most skilled NBA bigs in the history of the league, big fundamental, and I'm not comparing him to Tim Duncan, but just what's been your thoughts about just the way that he's developed? And it seems like lately he's played really well, even taking it to another level.
It's funny because you can't mention Derek Queen, I know at least for me, and a smile not follow it.
Yeah.
You can't. That young man is truly a joy to watch play. But what makes it even better for me is the person that he is. It's amazing how many messages that I get from former teammates about DQ. About him. Just like, just from that dude is a beast to gosh, this dude is skilled. And it's funny because you just said, you play with one of the most skilled big men of all time. And it's funny when you say that, how you have to respond with, well, don't, I'm not comparing them. And it's okay to compare them. It is okay.
Yeah.
Because when I watch Derek Queen play, I do see some Nikola Jokic. I do see some Alfie Şengün. I do see some Tim Duncan with the footwork, with the basketball IQ, with the overall skill set, right? The thing about DQ, he will not blow you away with speed, athleticism, and agility. But I tell you what, you will be hard-pressed to find a center in this league that when he is aggressive and attacking, that can guard him. Yeah. Like, he's a guy that is now, 30, 35 games into his rookie year, that I am comfortable seeing and putting the basketball in his hands and trusting in his ability to make the right read at the right time because he unlocks other players' potential. We're seeing plays from Trey Murphy that we haven't seen before because now you have a big that can actually make that pass. So for me, it is truly a joy to watch this young man develop. And that's the best part of my job. Honestly, outside of going on the road and seeing guys that I played with and coaches that I played for and talking with those guys, the best part of my job is watching young players grow into something special.
And when we had Jose Alvarado on, he was talking, I asked him about the joy of having rookies or just players in general that are coachable, not just by the coach, but also by the players that are willing to listen and not, man, I know this already, or I don't want to hear that. And I think that's the thing that really stands out from DQ, whether we see him at home, on the road, or whatever. He is an ear and he is a sponge. He's always learning. You see him in game sort of learn. Mm-hmm. And then physically from the aspect that I enjoy, you just saw it in his recent series against Phoenix. He'll drive. He'll take the contact. He's one of those players that can absorb that and still get to the basket. And that's so important in today's league.
I've always felt, and I should tell Tim this all the time, one of the best kind of attributes to have is to lack athleticism. Because you think about some of the guys in this league that were crazy athletes, and the moment that the athleticism is gone,
the game is different.
The game is different.
Yeah.
I used to joke with Tim all the time, say one of the best things that God did not bless you with was athleticism. And that's why they called it the big fundamental.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the athleticism to jump over people, so now I got to think my way around you, right? Look at some of the guys in the league that are considered really, really elite players. A guy like Luka, a guy like Jokic, a guy like Alfie Şengün. When you see these guys, speed and athleticism doesn't jump off the screen at you. But what does is their ability to play with angles, understand angles. And the thing about DQ that you just referenced, Gus, he's been playing against bigs that are bigger, stronger, and more athletic than him his whole life. What that forces you to do now is become creative. So when you see the footwork into the Dirk Nowitzki step backs, the ability to take contact, decelerate, and still finish, he's been doing this against bigs for as long as he can remember. Now you get to this level, and bigs aren't accustomed to playing against other bigs that are doing some of the things that he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Low pull through, Euro stepping, the Donovan Mitchell pull over the top.
The glass
all
game,
these things.
Tim Duncan could kiss it off the glass at every angle like you're playing pool. And Derek Queen does that a lot.
Is it a coincidence that we have played the San Antonio Spurs twice? Because if you go back to earlier in the season, actually DQ did play. But we played San Antonio in San Antonio. These are unprompted. We played San Antonio in San Antonio. Then a couple weeks later, we played San Antonio here.
Yep.
In both of those games, unprompted text messages from Tim talking about Derek Queen. And I will guarantee you, it's the IQ and the fact that he can see some of DQ in him, which is, I mean, come on, man. This is the best power forward to ever touch a basketball. Unprompted text talking about Derek Queen, his impact, and the fact that this young man is a beast out of nowhere. That speaks volumes to me.
I've noticed, you mentioned Trey Murphy playing off of DQ. When DQ has the ball, you see a bunch of guys cut. You see other guys in the NBA, maybe they have the ball and nobody cuts. They just kind of stand in place because they know, like, it might be a waste of my time to get to the basket. But, you know, the stuff that you talked about with Tim Duncan is so interesting and such a credit to DQ, not just the way that he is playing right now, but just his potential and his future. This might be a greater discussion, but for another day when we have more time. But I mean, how cool has it been to see? I feel like there's been talk the last maybe 10, 15 years about how the development of players in America has kind of stagnated compared to international. And how cool has it been to see somebody who's from Baltimore, who's obviously a domestic player, play the way he does? I keep saying I want to drill down more with him and ask him, how did you learn how to play this way? Because you just don't see this happen very much. I mean, how cool has it been just to watch that?
Let's discuss. Okay. So I have a question for you guys.
All right.
Is that learned or is that God-given?
My guess would be a combination. My guess would be that some of the stuff, the lack of athleticism, and he's not going to jump over people, necessitated, I have to play this way. But part of me thinks that somewhere along the line, there was, maybe I'm wrong, that somewhere along the line, there was somebody who sat him down and was like, here are some different things that you can add to your game.
And for me, I guess I'm more thinking about the mental piece of it. Not the physical piece. Because I think the physical piece you do learn. You learn with reps. Okay, all right, this guy's blocking my shot when I do this. I need to figure out a way to create separation. I'm thinking about his ability to pass guys open. Sometimes guys don't even understand they're open until the ball's there. Like, oh, shoot, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about that part. Because I am a firm believer, and like you said, I may be wrong. I think that's God-given. Yeah. I think that's God-given. Basketball IQ, and time, score, situation, understanding what's needed, where the ball needs to go, to how do I get it there. I feel like that's God-given.
Yeah. Some of it too isn't some of it just vision, that he always has his head up,
and that's God-given.
And he anticipates, he sees the floor.
So here's the thing, and we used to have this conversation about Nikola Jokic all the time. It's one thing to be able to see a pass. I feel like there's a lot of guys in this league that can actually see a pass. But to have the size and skill set to deliver it is something different. You know what I mean? Like, gosh, that guy's open, but I'm 6'2", I can't get it to him. You know what I mean? Or you can be out at the top of the key, that guy is open, but I'm 6'11", and I don't have the ability to make that pass. The fact that he's 6'10", has the vision and thought process of a point guard. That's my thing. I am a firm believer that point guard is not a skill set, it's a mindset. It's how you think the game. It's the way you see the game.
Had the ability for him to be able to take the ball down the court off of a rebound, off of a make, off of an inbound. It's crazy.
And know what he's looking for.
Yeah.
Know what he's looking for.
Up,
right. And to me, a lot of that is God-given. Now, with God-given comes work. You have to work with it. It's not like it's you know, I've heard people say all the time about Steph Curry. Oh, man, he can just shoot the ball. That's God-given.
Oh,
you know how hard he works?
Yes.
You know, so you don't just stop at, I've always been told, you know, God's gift to you is the different blessings that he's given you. Your gift to God is how hard that you work to basically build on those gifts. Yeah, to maximize those gifts. And DQ, I'm with you. It's a lot of both. I am so impressed watching him play. But like you said, Gus, his ability to open his ears, retain information from DeAndre Jordan. You know what I mean? From guys that are constantly in his ear is more impressive than anything else.
You mentioned the combination of being blessed by God with a bunch of skills and talent, but you also have to put the work in. Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me of also Jeremiah Fears, that people watch him play and they say, man, this guy is so quick. Look at how good his hands are. But I can't imagine the amount of time that he put into his ball handling. And when I watched his tape from Oklahoma, I was like, this is one of the best college ball handlers I've seen come into the NBA in a long time. What are your kind of thoughts about his play? I guess we're about 2 months into his career so far.
I remember earlier in the year, James Borrego asked me what I thought of Jeremiah. And I said, he reminds me of a sports car that's always in control. Like you think of a sports car. If you put a sports car on the track and it's constantly in the grass, it does no good. But if you have a sports car that you can downshift, upshift, go from first to third to fifth to sixth, and you're constantly where you're supposed to be, that's impressive. There are a million guys in this league that are blessed with speed. A million of them. But there aren't a million guys in this league that are blessed with speed and control. The ability to do both. The ability to understand when to decelerate, when to downshift. How can I go from first to sixth, and then once I get to sixth, create space because the guy that's guarding me is bigger than me? And for me, that's the part from Jeremiah that has stood out to me. Like, his speed is something else. As a guard, being ambidextrous around the rim, being able to finish with his left, almost better than he can finish with his right. Can you imagine what that's going to look like 2 or 3 years down the line?
My point.
Yeah.
Right.
I said on our broadcast before, it's a lot of a player. It's a certain player that I see when I look at Jeremiah, but if I say him, people are going to call me biased. So I'm going to keep it to myself.
Are there certain?
We'll talk about that sometime.
Are there certain things that you maybe from your rookie year coming into the NBA as a point guard that you look at him and say maybe advice that you can give him, or just different things that you remember from your adjustment that he's handled really well coming in? I mean, he's 18,
right.
Now 19, to certain things that you kind of tip your cap to of the way that he's come in as a young guy.
Well, I tell you what, I can remember being drafted in 97 after 4 years of college and coming in, and people do not understand how difficult it is to come in at that position. I played 4 years of college, and I still had no idea what the NBA point guard position was all about. No idea. So for Jeremiah to come in at 19 years old and reclassify forward, because realistically speaking, he's supposed to be a freshman in college now. Right. And to handle it the way that he handles it now, mentally, physically, emotionally, is impressive. Because I've been there. I know how difficult it is to tell a guy that's been in the league 5, 6 years, 10, 12 years, dude, you're in the wrong spot. You're in the wrong place. You got to get out. You know what I mean? Like that's intimidating. It's almost equivalent to a quarterback, a rookie quarterback that's coming into the league after 1 year of college. His job is to control the entire offense. And if that offense looks like trash, it's on you as a quarterback.
Right.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Some things never change in the NBA, and I think one of them that hasn't changed from when you came into the league is point guard is so stacked. It feels like the 25th best starting point guard in the league is still somebody that if you kind of walk into the game casually is going to destroy you. Mm-hmm. I mean, how much of that was what you think about either with when you came into the league or the way or what Jeremiah has to face now, where it's like, to me, that position is probably maybe the most talented in the league.
I think the biggest difference between then and now is then, and I'm speaking in 97 when I was drafted, the league had more point guards.
Like true point guards, traditional point guards.
Yeah.
Setup guys.
The John Stocktons, the Mark Jacksons, those kind of guys that they weren't trying to destroy you by scoring 50.
Right.
But they would get 12 points and 17 assists. Now, you don't have as many point guards. You have lead guards. These lead guards are lethal. They can score.
Right.
They can score. The Steph Currys, the Damian Lillards. You can go down the list of different guards on a night-to-night basis, the Tyrese Maxeys. Like these guys. How many traditional point guards are in the NBA right now?
Yeah, not many.
Right. And on a night-to-night basis, you're going against another guard who he is coming out to score first and facilitate second. The James Hardens, these kind of guys. It doesn't mean they can't facilitate, but they're coming out to score. So I feel like with Jeremiah, his defense has to be a little different because these dudes are coming out to put up 30, 40, 50 points on a night-to-night basis, not come out and get you 10 points and 10 assists.
I feel bad because we only have like about 2.5 minutes here, but I got to show this guy some love because we're talking about the turnaround. Where's this team without Sadique Bay? I feel like he's the muscle, he's the bouncer, man. He's the guy that you don't want to mess with. He's so physical, and he's been a heck of a closer for this team late in the fourth. You can go to him. I just trust him. I don't know how else I can describe.
So our nickname for Sadique is the professional.
Yep.
Because he is always professional. And I tell you, for me personally, what I love about Sadique the most is his faith. And I've had a conversation with him about it, where that injury that he suffered versus the Pelicans, right, when he was with Atlanta, how that brought him closer to God and how that changed everything in his life. His approach to every game now is different. And any of us can speak to this outside of basketball. Anytime something is almost taken from you, it gives you a deeper appreciation for it. And he plays every game like it was almost taken from him a year and a half ago.
That's a great point.
And I love that. He doesn't take the game for granted. You know, you hear the cliche statements like, you know, you got to play every game like it's your last, and 48 minutes of mistake-free basketball, all this stuff that's not realistic. When you watch Sadique Bay take the floor, he takes the floor every game like it could be his last, because there was a point where he thought it actually could have been his last.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I'm looking forward to seeing what takes place here as we get into the month of January. AD, 16 total games in that month. 10 will be on the road, so we'll see what takes
Let's
place.
Get it.
Let's get after it.
Let's get it.
As AD just said, you're starting to see signs and things from this team that should be fun to watch. And the SKC's been great as of late, so looking forward to it. And as always, be sure to go to Pelicans.com. Jim's got you covered there, and you're already watching and listening on Pelicans TV and radio. Thank you, AD, for your time, man. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Happy New Year to everybody. We'll see you later on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast.